Welcome to New Life Live with Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's today's host, Becky Brown.
Well, hello, everyone. I am so glad that you decided to listen today. It's a special show today. I am joined by two very good friends and network therapists, as well as speakers at our Restore workshop, Stacey Sadler-Smith and Mangin-McDonald. And I'm so glad that you guys are here. And I know that the work that we do together at Restore is changing the lives of so many women. One of the biggest challenges that we hear all the time is that women do not know how to take care of themselves when it comes to healing from sexual betrayal. So what are some of the top excuses that you all have heard? Stacey, we'll start with you, that women will either say to themselves or use to prevent from taking that step into healing.
I don't have time. And I know that's one I'm guilty of. I don't have time. There's just too many other things, too many other needs, especially kids. I'm going to put everybody else before me, or money, same thing. I don't have time. I don't have money. And so I'm going to go last on the list. That's one of the biggest ones I hear.
That's so true. Laura, how about you? What are the excuses that you have heard?
Well, I hear that one all the time, like Stacey said also. And then the other is he needs to go. He's the one that is, needs the help. But we need to go too, because we were harmed by his betrayal.
Yeah, that is that is true. Because a
Well,
lot
it's
of
like
times
me
they do think it's his problem.
Well, and he does have a problem, but we were traumatized by his problem, right? It's like me being in a car wreck and I'm taking my kids to soccer and I go, oh, I don't have time to have my leg triaged here that's falling off because I've got to get my kids to soccer. I mean, those injuries are visual. These injuries are like memory bruises that we've got to get healed.
It's so true. And like I said before, we're going to take your calls today, 1-800-229-3000. But, Laura and Stacey, we also hear from women who have joined us at Restore about what an amazing impact the weekend is for them. And, one of the things that we hear are, I thought that I didn't have time. I thought I didn't have money. I thought that I wasn't able to do this work because I thought it was his work to do. So, when you think about the impact of sexual betrayal on women when their significant other, because sometimes it's a boyfriend, sometimes it's a husband, when they've experienced betrayal, something happens within them. Yes, the trust is broken, but emotionally there's an impact as well, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's what I was going to say. Speaking about self-care, I am in the face of trauma, and it is trauma, by the way, when you're betrayed. I always say that self-care is a neurobiologic necessity, and if I could write a prescription for self-care, I would. And the reason I say that is because highly charged emotions that are stored in our brain, the brain actually goes offline during trauma, and we have to work to get it back online so that we can think logically and that we're not run by our emotions or our fight or flight system that's going, danger, danger, danger. So when we breathe and when we take care of ourselves and when we talk to other people and all those other things, all those big lists of things we do for self-care, our brains come back online and we can start thinking logically.
Right.
Isn't that, it's so amazing because we think that we are not able to make sense of this nonsense. And there's a reason for it. If money is one of the issues that keeps you from taking care of yourself, we have scholarships. We've got some early bird discounts going on, but we are here to take your calls today so that maybe that would be the next step in your healing process. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Laura and Stacey after this. 1-800-229-3000.
My husband was involved with pornography addiction.
He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict.
There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Orange County, California, February 24th through the 26th. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or online at newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
I'm Stephen Arterburn with the New Life Moment. Like many other Christians, my parents thought that if they honored God and dedicated their children to the Lord, they'd somehow be shielded from pain, suffering, and life's difficult realities. Learning that their son, my brother Jerry, was dying from AIDS helped them to see that this belief was false. My parents wrestled not only with losing Jerry, but also with their own feelings of guilt. They wondered what they could have done differently to keep their son from a homosexual world. Sorrow and regret consumed them. Yet God used that terrible incident to mold and deepen my parents' faith. Suffering brought them face to face with change they'd never anticipated. It was in that dark and painful crucible that my parents learned about compassion, courage, forgiveness, and repentance. Their hearts were truly broken, but they were also truly changed. To learn how hurt can be transformed into healing, visit newlife.com. I'm Stephen Arterburn. Thanks for listening to this New Life Moment.
Isn't that the truth? That's what we're talking about today with Stacey, Sadler-Smith, and Laura Mangin-McDonald. We are taking your calls at 1-800-229-3000. And just what Steve just said in that New Life Moment, hurt can be transformed. And, you know, when we're talking with women who have been affected and impacted by sexual betrayal, it is amazing to see the before and after, to see how God meets them in their need, and through the help of qualified clinicians like Stacey and Laura. It's pretty amazing. Laura, you were going to add something before we went to the break about the power of just addressing your need and your healing. What would you like to add to that?
Well, to piggyback first, you know, what Stacey's talking about, the neurobiology of this, and this continues it in that betrayal breaks down the molecular structure of our cells. It's real. It blows up our insides. So, which is, you know, related to the fatigue, the, physical symptoms can erupt along with the prefrontal cortex being offline, like Stacey was talking about. So it's real, but often what happens is many times women are met with, you're overreacting. You just need to pray more. You need to be kinder to him, or somehow blaming them for what he did. And it's just, they've got to understand that what they're feeling is so legit, and we can help them at Restore with all of these things.
Yeah, you know, that whole process of thinking that women go through, that somehow I made this happen or I contributed it to it. And it's actually old teaching as well, you know, because there was a time when we would, you know, unfortunately we would ask women, well, how did you contribute to this? And it's just sad when we hear those stories. Stacey, I know that you've heard those kind of terrible stories and the recovery that comes after it. What would you say to a woman who may be thinking or may have heard that either from the husband or from a helper?
I would say straight on, it's not your fault and you're not crazy. And that's one of the things that I speak about at Restore. And it's so powerful because every betrayed partner feels like they're crazy. And really that's a reaction to trauma. And I just smiled so big when I heard that ad a minute ago that said, or that testimonial, I should say, thank you, Restore. You've changed my life forever. Well, why does it change your life forever? Because being with people that get it and understand what betrayal is like, and we've been there, so we get it.
Yes.
Help you to understand all the components. I call them cray-cray components that make you feel so crazy in this time of loss. And some of that is treatment-induced trauma. Pastors or a therapist who haven't understood betrayal and tend to put the focus on the partner for being emotional or for checking, for supervising or tracking their husbands or things like that, which really are truly just safety-seeking measures to say, who am I in this world and what happened to me? And so we teach them that at Restore, and it helps bring back that equilibrium.
Right. One of the things that we hear backwards.
I'm sorry.
It does. Yeah, it's okay. It does.
Yeah,
we do. We bring
us
our past
backwards
into the present.
Right. We
Go
look
ahead,
back
Laura.
and think, was that for real? Was that for real? It blows up our foundation, which is when there's no trust, there's no safety, and if we're not safe, we can't make it. God created us for safety and deep, abiding connection. And that's what happens at Restore. Again, everything, this neurobiology bows a knee to God's design, right? Because when we're in that group setting, and they're in that group setting and they're looking back in other people's eyes, those mirror neurons are being activated. And we are looking into the soul, that right brain of each other. And that deep connection brings them out. It gives them hope in their despair. So I get a little excited when I talk about this.
Because we want people to have a new life. We want them to experience that healing. And there, we've heard so many testimonies over the years from women who have met us there at the intensive, where at the end of the weekend, they're just like, I didn't know how much I really needed this. On the other side of that are men who have gone through every man's battle, and they are doing the work, and they feel kind of helpless with their spouse. It's like, I know I hurt her. I don't know how I'm ever going to get past this. How are we ever going to get to that next chapter in our lives? Or is it always going to be swirling around this issue? Stacey, how could you encourage a man who has been through this, experience, has caused this kind of pain into his marriage or in his relationship? How would you encourage him in this process?
Well, I would say that taking the first step, we have a roadmap, first of all. We've all been there and on both sides. And a lot of the network therapists in Every Man's Battle are ready to help walk this journey. And they know the components that it takes for healing. One false misconception that a lot of betrayers, the one that did the betraying, believe is that if she knew what I did, that it would hurt her so bad. And what we find out is that what's worse is the deception around what they did. It's not, it's like I had a lady this week say, I can deal with the truth. I can handle the truth. It's all the deception and the crazy making around it that leads to feeling crazy. So the trust building, the trust telling process is the first process that happens, but we don't recommend that happens at home. We recommend that you hear about the way that your wife or your partner needs to hear this truth with supportive people around her, because hearing the truth is hard, but it's better than being deceived. And that has to happen in a therapeutic environment so that she feels supported and that he's supported, because it's a traumatic event to go through to retell those events, but it's necessary to build the foundation for trust. And I would just say to these guys, the ones that I see, just they don't want to keep living like that. They're compelled by something outside of them. Some of them slaves to an addiction that truly has taken over their lives. And they'll be met with understanding and other men who've been there too, who get it. And the shame zone goes way, way down because they're in good company with people that understand the struggle and will accept them right at their core. And so I say take the first step to pick up the phone to call to begin to get help.
Well, and I would say, I would also say we are in the company of brilliant women today. We're going to take calls 1-800-229-3000 and questions of all kinds. Stacey and Laura have had practices for years, and they've helped all kinds of people who have gone through all kinds of journeys, and not just betrayal trauma, even though that is their specialty. But, what we find out is that even in folks that have had betrayal trauma, there are other things that are going on in their life. This isn't the only thing. And I think, when we talk about excuses about why people don't seek help, because they've got all the things going on. But, I just think about those challenges that we face in our lives where it's really hard to ask for help. So Laura, how would you, how have you helped people get over the obstacle of asking for help?
Well, one, I often use the scripture, right? Because we can't deny the truth. And it's just like, look, in my weaknesses in Corinthians, it says God's love is made perfect, right? So then we establish that. And then I go into just a visual example of we can have the most beautiful home in the world and here I live in the Dallas area and have a Dallas decorator and everything, right? But if my foundation is ruptured, if there's a fracture there, then no matter what I do in my home, it's going to forever have problems, cracks in the wall, doors off, everything. And I'm going to be in a reactive mode trying to heal all that. I need to go down to the structure, get a structural engineer, and let's fix the foundation. Because if our foundation's off, everything else in our life is off. And that usually resonates with people to go, oh, okay, right? We are made for connection. That's God's design, and we cannot undermine that or drive around it every time.
Well, I think that so many times we have a story in our head, or we've learned from people who love us, or we've been related to, that you just need to figure it out. You have to pick yourselves up by the bootstraps and keep going. And there are days that you do have to do that. I mean, it's part of that life experience that we have. But when we look at the recovery from betrayal and from sexual integrity issues, the people that have gone through the recovery process and have done the work, they have a better life on the other side. This isn't something that you will carry for the rest of your life. You will learn how to let this go and to really be connected. Laura, I know you're all excited about that. What would you say to somebody who is thinking, this is something I'll never get over?
Well, I understand the feeling because it feels so real and we're so consumed with it. But I can tell you, I never, and never would I have signed up for being betrayed. Not in a zillion million years, right? However, I would not trade my freedom that I'm walking in on this side of it because, as I said, it goes and it breaks up our bedrock, but then we get to lay a new bedrock, we learn new things about ourselves, things that we never would have known. And again, that I'm not in any way shaping this like, oh, well, you want to go through this, because you don't. But if you do, there is hope. It's God's promise, and myself, along with millions of other women, can promise you that it is a place of freedom that you could not ever imagine because you've never been here.
I think the hard part too is when we experience deep pain, wherever the pain is coming from, it actually becomes like a ditch that we get stuck in. And we have to have others who help us out, whether that is a group or a counselor or a combination of the two, and some really good structure in place. And I know, Stacey, that's a big part of your practice as well, is helping people have a process to healing.
Right. And, the thing is, a very wise woman told me once, competent people ask for help. And when we think that we can do it alone, we can't. Community, New Life is all about community. And there are people who are ready to join you in your help process, whether it's in, again, my practice that I do here, or within New Life or whether it's a group, you don't have to white knuckle this and do it alone. So many of us from our family of origins learn, I just muddle through and white knuckle it and I'll figure it out. And the thing is, that's bondage. So often that's bondage. Freedom is being fully known in a group of people and being accepted and loved, even with the sin or the struggle in life. And so we're all on the struggle bus. And so let's join and jump on. I'll tell you about mine. You tell me about yours. I mean, that's how we are when we get together. What's going on in your life, Laura? What's going on in yours, Becky?
Yeah.
And we're all the same at the foot of the cross. And it's so freeing because I don't have to pretend to have it all together. And that's what we hope everybody will understand and join in.
That's right. Good. That's right. Well, we're going to take a break. We got calls coming in, 1-800-229-3000. I know that you're going to want to be part of this show today, whether it is betrayal or something else. We can help you. We want to help you. 1-800-229-3000. We'll be right back.
Before coming to this weekend, I have been dealing with the guilt and shame of an abortion that I had 20 years ago. And we have 3 awesome kids. But every time I kept getting close to the Lord, kids saying to me, "You're the best mom." That voice in the back said, "You're a horrible mother. Look what you did to that child. You killed somebody. You don't deserve any of this, and you're not worthy." To help free me from my guilt and see that I would not make the same decision today. I would make a different decision, and I am a great mom, and God can use me.
This is Steve Arterburn, and this is the story of a new life. After 20 years of guilt and shame, she attended a workshop and now is free. You can be part of offering hope to others as you step out in faith by donating to New Life Ministries.
To make your tax-deductible gift, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit newlife.com and click Donate. Daniel Grossman on coaching.
Coaches are really focused on the future and helping people to develop those skills and those strategies to help them move forward in their life. A coach really partners with you to focus on things like personal growth or health goals, spiritual growth, helping you develop in your career or possibly strengthening your relationships or maybe even breaking free from a negative pattern.
If you need a coach for life, your career, relationships, your health and fitness, leadership, and more, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
Coaches use different techniques. Some like to use strategic questions and accountability, ultimately empowering you to take those next steps toward your goals.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and talk to us about getting a New Life coach today.
I really believe that everyone can use a coach in their corner.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are going to go to the calls, and we are going to talk with Robin, who's calling us from Washington, D.C. and listens on Sirius XM. Hi, Robin. We're so glad that you called. How can we help you today?
Hi, Becky.
Hi.
I have a lot to say. I've been to Restore. I would love to encourage women to go. Becky, I met you November 2021 in the Washington area when Restore came, and I made a comment towards the end about, I said, I don't do wife, and you tracked me down later. Did you say what, life? And I said, no, I said wife, because of all the gaslighting and all the lies, it's just that I was like, I just don't know how to be a wife. And so you and I had a long conversation about that. Subsequently, I went home armed with a discussion with my husband. We've been married 48 years by the time I got myself to Restore. And he went to EMB. I was there when Shelley was doing the presentations. I have since networked with other women who have been to Restore and would love to meet the new ladies doing Restore. But I have like an incredible testimony in terms of the support and resources and help, the counseling, what I've done for myself. We're now in 51 years. My husband continues to go back to Restore. Can't say enough for the alumni group they have for the men. That's been incredible. But it's been so hard. We've figured out how to find the money to continue the ongoing therapy. But I've learned so much about myself, about denial, created myself an alternate life. I was very successful professionally, raised two amazing kids, and have 4 grandkids now. And we recently did, or 11 months ago, got the full disclosure of all the secrets. And for the first time in my life, I started connecting the dots and realized I was not crazy, and I'm not crazy today. My husband doesn't understand, like, why connecting all these dots is like, oh my gosh, and how I enable things. And anyway, but I'm not doing that anymore. And I'm in the process of a little self-care right now. I'm driving to the Eastern Shore to be with girlfriends on the beach. And
I love that. I love that, Robin. I love that. That's so good. And and I love that you're doing the work, because wouldn't it be great if we just snap our fingers and everything was fine? I could say that about a lot of things in life.
That with my husband, really, it kills him to see my pain, and then that throws him back into more shame, and then he's mad, and then he's spinning it, and he's letting. But I can recognize the patterns, and when he's going to go sulk, because sometimes I talk about things and it hurts his feelings, and then he's back to twisting it, and but you did this, and you did that, and I'm like, now I can just say I'm not participating in this conversation, and I just walk away, because I'm not going to keep doing this and taking blame. But you guys taught me how to do that. Oh my God,
I love it.
I would be divorced and probably have decimated my grandchildren and my children, because clearly, this is what I can say to ladies. You think you're hiding this, you're not. You're just not. They notice your mood, they notice something's off, and you're like, oh, no, I'm fine, and you're not fine. And it's what one of you was just talking about, what's going on in your brain. My brain, when I first got suspicious early on in my marriage, when my son was like less than a year, something's wrong, and unfortunately, in the 70s and early 80s, you guys didn't exist. Not much support existed.
Right.
But I persevered, and we have literally been in therapy and therapeutic sessions for years. But as you ladies were talking about, the advice wasn't always wise, but hung in there.
Can I interject something here, Robin? I would love to see your husband and you go to intimacy in marriage, and for your husband to learn about his attachment styles, because what I'm hearing is that his shame blows up inside of him, and it breaks my heart to hear he does not have to suffer this way. There's a suffering that brings us to healing, and then there's a suffering that perpetuates hurt. And his suffering is perpetuating a lot of hurt. If he could get into intimacy and marriage where we talk about these attachment styles and then really do some work in that area, then he could then also be more attuned to you and hold your pain if something is triggered, because there's no expiration date on talking about things, right? It just, every time, if we have that freedom to talk about it, then we heal each time. That is so crucial to the moving towards the freedom we want. But I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just really would.
No, that's okay, because we've done comfort circles. We actually know those triggers. We've got the whole dance, the whole whatever, trigger things, the comfort circle. Forget who wrote all those books. But, I had them for a long time. Actually shared them with my husband, but he didn't want to go there. We've done that with our New Life couples therapist that we're working with. We talk to her weekly, and we've gone into those comfort circles. My husband's also
Robin, you can hear the music.
Personality.
You can hear the music. We're hold on, Robin. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after this. 1-800-229-3000.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit its addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. Laura just mentioned intimacy in marriage, and we are going to have that also in February in Southern California, and you can register by Friday for the early bird rate. And we're talking with Robin, who attended Restore, has been doing the work, and has experienced some healing and still recognizes that there is always work to do. Stacey, what would you like to add as we finish up this time with Robin?
Yeah, Robin, I hear freedom in your voice. And I hear about your journey, and I'm so glad that Restore was helpful to you, and that you came out of that denial that really, truly is. It's helpful in the moment, but it could be a prison. And I just hear freedom, freedom, freedom in your voice as you continue to walk the journey with your husband. And even though it's a journey, I hear just so much hope in your voice, and I say just keep going the distance. It's all worth it.
That's awesome. We are going to send you, Robin, a copy of the 1 Year Bible for Women because it's great. It's a daily injection of the word in the work that you're doing. And, maybe we'll see you as an alumni someday. Who knows? I'm so glad you called, and stay in touch with us. We're going to go back to the calls. We're taking calls 1-800-229-3000. We're going to talk with Diane, who's calling us from Dallas. Listens on KWRD. Hello, Diane. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I had a question on, there has been a betrayal in our relationship, been married 30 years, and I've done the work as much as I know to do, got some counseling, did some things, but after the betrayal, I am really struggling with finding my love for him again. I don't have the same feelings for him that I had before. He's not a bad man in context, but I just can't get back what I had, and I don't know how to do that.
Well, Diane, that's a great question. Laura, let's start with you. How would you direct Diane in this?
Well, Diane, first of all, hey, way to go on being here and being a Dallasite, right? But what work have you done? Have you gone through structured, counseling and done the disclosure and had, a therapist who understands the betrayal process?
Yes, ma'am. We've gone through those things. I've had some individual therapy. We had some couple therapy. Unfortunately, there were some other things that happened at the same time that caused me to have a post-traumatic stress injury. And though I'm working through that as well and doing those things, but I've gone through the steps for that. I'm going through the restoration for that, and in all the marriage restoration and things that we've done together and studies together and things like that, I haven't, besides forgiveness, which I truly believe I have forgiven him. I don't have that pain anymore over the betrayal incident. I just don't have any feeling for him like I should as my husband anymore.
Well, I think that's totally normal and legitimate, right? You were blown up. Just like we were talking earlier from the neurobiology that happens in the brain and what happens in the body. Betrayal blows us up into ashes, absolute ashes. So for you to, the forgiveness is releasing him of the debt he owes. And forgiveness is about the past. That's one. It takes one person. Reconciliation, on the other hand, is moving forward. How are we going to reconcile? How are we going to rebuild what was blown up, the rubble around us? How are we going to put that back together again? And in order for that's where he plays an active role in being an active agent in that, in showing you a different walk and being interested and attuned to what's happened to you and to grieve with you for the things he's done to you, right? So that's why I asked if you had someone, because there's a lot of people that go to therapy, but maybe their therapist is not trained in the betrayal healing process, which is significantly different and a deeper process.
Yeah. Well, you know what else too, Diane, what I'm thinking too, is you mentioned all these other things, relationships are very complex. So it's, yes, you have the betrayal, but I mean, how do you guys connect? That's like separate from the wounds that you have experienced together. But Stacey, I know that we've talked about this before, that how do couples find that loving feeling again? Because that's what Diane's asking about.
Well, what happens is, Diane, you likely have your reality of what you knew about the marriage, and then now the reality about the betrayal and all the things that happened and is acting out. But what you might not have is a new story that's in the middle, and that story is a meaning making of what happened. And in order to move into understanding and creating a collaborative narrative between you both, there has to be grief. You have to grieve together. What happens is we find out that couples that grieve separate, I did my grief, he did his grief, we're grieving in separate directions rather than grieving together. And when we can grieve together, it creates connection. That was a very lonely place to be for all those years that he was committing the betrayal. And I find when I work with couples and the betraying partner can come in alongside and hear what it was like all that time for the betrayed, something wild happens. There's a connection that starts happening because just like Jesus, he's in the pain with us. He may have not prevented it from happening, but he's certainly right there with us, grieving with us. And so when, let's just say, a husband grieves with his wife, there is intimacy that starts to happen on a whole nother level. So I would just ask, did you grieve together? Did you cry together, literally standing over the grave and cry? So if not, I would totally recommend that would be a process that you would step back into.
Yeah, and you know what, Diane, we already talked about the intimacy in marriage. We would love for you guys to join us there. I'm going to send you a copy of How We Love, which will also kind of uncover, those are the things that we talk about. Why, what are the attraction pieces, but also our attachment pieces. That it's just, it's very complex, but there's always hope. We're glad that you called. We'll be praying for that, and we hope to see it, intimacy in marriage as well. We're going to continue, and we're going to talk with Pamela, who's calling us from Port Arthur, Washington, watches us on YouTube. Thanks for calling, Pamela. How can we help you today?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, ma'am. I'm calling from Port Arthur, Texas.
Texas, okay.
Yes, ma'am. And I've just recently started listening to your program just a few days ago.
Awesome. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I love it. And my question is not really a question. I have lived my whole life with extreme fear. I'm 64, and my whole life has been all about fear. Well, now I have this new beginning. I literally have a new lease on life because of my Father in heaven. And so with that in regard, I'm wondering whatever it is He is preparing me for to do, because I want to do something so badly for Him. But how am I going to do it with all this fear? And there are so many things to be afraid of in this world. But I've lived my whole life with fear, and it all has to do with relationships from the beginning since I was a child. So I would like to know your thoughts on that, please.
Okay. Well, Laura, let's start with you. How can we help Pamela?
Oh gosh, Pamela, I'm so glad you called in. And again, this is my heartbeat, especially that, and you just you articulated this so clearly, saying that your fear is related to relationships. Well, that's where you learned how to trust the world. And if the people closest to you in your childhood were not trustworthy, then the world is not safe. So your primitive part of your brain is always going, watch out, be careful. You know, and it's trying to protect you. It's doing its job, just like a fire alarm would go off in my home. If there's some type of smoke or whatever, it's doing its job. So we don't want to stop the fire alarm. We don't want to stop the fear. We want to find out what's driving the fear so we can heal it. And it can be healed. Yeah. And, and the Lord is calling you. I believe that. But you've got to do your part in finding a therapist who knows how to work with this attachment, your trauma, because unhealed trauma continues to skew our view on life, and we don't pray it away. And we don't grow out of what we didn't get. We've got to get across from another person who can woo that part out of us and be with us and walk us through it. And then you're going to be ready, sister.
We're glad you called, Pamela. We'll be right back after this break.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
I have given to New Life regularly because I have so many people that I am referring to New Life who so benefit from the ministry.
Send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 days of prayer, 100 days of freedom from depression, and 100 days of peace. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It's been a great show with Laura and Stacey, and we were just talking with Pamela, who's a newer caller, and I'm going to send her a copy of 100 Days of Freedom from Fear and Anxiety and a copy of Healing is a Choice, because I know that what you were talking about, Laura, it really is that process that we have to get into, trusting God and doing the work at the same time, and Healing is a Choice talks all about that. Now we're going to go back to the calls, and we're going to talk with Sarah, who's calling us from Indianapolis, listens on WBRI. Hello, Sarah. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Well, so I'm struggling a little bit because I stepped out on my husband of 20 years, and this is the second time that I've betrayed his trust. 7 years ago, I did. He forgave me, and we moved forward, and we were doing great. And in 2021 or so, he just shut down on me. And then I've been engaging in conversations with somebody else, and not physical altercations, but conversations. And he's found out about it, and then he, beyond me knowing, filed for divorce and left. And I'm trying to get him back. I rededicated my life. I'm going to counseling. I am going to all these workshops. And what's really hard is that everything is geared for men who betrayals, not for women.
Right.
And it makes me feel even more shameful. Like there's something wrong with me that I'm, and I don't think I'm a bad person. God didn't make a bad person. And I really do love my husband and my family, and I don't want us to get a divorce. And I just think it's circumstantial stuff that I needed the attention. I needed somebody to take care of me or something and I wasn't getting that. And so I seeked it, and I wasn't even seeking it. It kind of came to me, and I just accepted it. I wasn't looking for somebody. I wasn't going out. It wasn't like that. But he won't budge.
Well, Sarah, thanks for taking the risk and asking for help. And it is hard, and I hear your heartbreak. Stacey, how can you encourage Sarah?
Yeah, first of all, Sarah, I want to thank you for your vulnerability to come on live and ask this question and just admit exactly what you've done. And that's the beginning of healing, is taking responsibility for it and saying, why do I do what I do? And delving in. The sad part is control is really an illusion, and there is nothing that you can do to try to get him back. The focus needs to be on you and your recovery and God. And you can certainly say, this is what I'm doing. I just want you to know. But continuing to focus on why you do what you do, your own healing journey is the best direction that I can have for you. And there can be life after this for you, because God is a redemptive God. And if you're doing the work, nothing but good is going to come of it, because you're learning more and more about yourself, and that's how healing works. So just really, my heart goes out to you, because I know you feel like there's not help for this out there, and that all you hear, and I know, because I talk about the wife always being the betrayed, and so I hear you in that, but you are not alone. There are many, many women who have betrayed their husbands, and there is help for it out there. And I don't want you to feel shame over it. So just continue to do the work. I admire you for being honest and stay the course, and try to find other women that are safe for you to connect with in that.
Laura, you want to add anything?
Well, I would just, interestingly enough, I have several women who are betrayers also. So because we just so happen to see it more, or maybe more men are more open about it. But I like, Stacey, I so admire you and that you had the courage to call in. So just some quick takeaway tips is, don't call it situational when you're talking to him. What you want to do is go, I harmed you. I broke your trust. You need to be able to validate him, because often what happens when we go to explain, it will make things explode. Even though I believe you're coming from this remorseful place to try to get him to understand, it really only adds fuel to the fire. So that's just a quick tip, takeaway. But I just want to give you the verse, Genesis 50:20. What was intended for harm, God will use for his glory and your good. He will not waste this pain if you will keep your hand open, and you, like, Stacey was saying, is you get the help you need. This is a trauma fracture inside of you that you are susceptible to this. So embrace that. And I don't know what your future looks like, but I know God has good plans when we let him take our pain and turn it into a purpose. So I just want to encourage you.
Yeah. Sarah, we do have a partner treatment resource that we'll get you connected with, because we do hear this story many times, that women are the ones that are doing the betraying. And what you just said, Laura, is so true. There's a story behind the behavior. And it's, it's just like what Sarah was just saying. She's so split because she loves her husband and wants to have that intimate relationship. And yet there is this barrier and then the behavior that comes into play. As we wrap up today's show, one of the things that we have talked about is the challenge in relationships to be vulnerable and to be real. And some of that is due to betrayal. And some of it is due to because we don't know our own hurts that we're carrying around with us. Stacey, how would you encourage someone who may not even realize that that is the obstacle, that their own healing hasn't even begun?
Well, when we start digging in our own healing process, we start finding out that there's always more. And really, when we start knowing our interior selves, amazing things can happen because we're not running from ourselves anymore. And I think the thing that strikes me so much with this caller is that, she has no control, and surrendering to God when there's things that are out of our control is one of the hardest things we do. Surrendering and letting go. Yes. And then just doing the one thing that we can do, which is work on ourselves. It's so tough. But again, that's the treasure trove that's there. It's what pulls us closer to God. It's what helps us become more self-aware. It's what helps us heal and become whole so that we can stand alone. I know you're going to have to grieve that your husband didn't want to stick around. Unfortunately, that is the sad fact. A lot of these men will not stay in once they've been betrayed. They're like one and done. The women tend to stay and be very by your side. Not exactly the reasons behind that. I think a lot of it has to do with attachment, and a lot of it has to do with brains, the way men and women's brains work. But it is a sad fact, and you will have to grieve it, unfortunately. But I want you to do that process. It's so important.
I so hope that she will take us up on it. As we wrap this up, I know that the two of you really want for women to join us at Restore because of the healing that is going to happen there. And Laura, you get the last word because we're going to run up against time. But what would you say to somebody who's thinking about going?
Oh gosh, you know what? I'm going to tell you straight out of the gate. It's going to be the hardest work you ever do, with the greatest return you will ever experience. You will not leave Restore without being so many things change with you and a brighter future. I promise. I love it over and over and over.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE, but when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.